Hi guys, KO here. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila, where we are working to inspire positive, radical social evolution. I am so deeply excited today. We are welcoming another T&T Creative to the mic, DJ Zenas. He is a Dallas-based DJ, producer, songwriter, and recording artist. We are going to talk about the music business, the love of music, how music can reach to all people of ages, and bring on some unity and community. It's a really awesome conversation for all my music lovers out there. DJ Zenas, I appreciate you. I love what you're doing. I love that you're leading with the heart. I know only great things are headed your way. Let's catch up soon. Enjoy this conversation. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, where we have all the videos coming at you.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I am so excited today. We have a connect of a connect, and if you listen, you know these are my favorite, and it's even better when a good friend of mine knows this human. And I was at a birthday party, heard a list you put together. I'm like, I got to get him on the podcast, but we haven't even had a conversation until right now. So you know I love it, a connect of a connect and a super raw combo. So we are jumping in and welcoming DJ Zenas to the T&T mic. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kristen. It's truly a pleasure. I'm just looking forward to it. Obviously, a friend of a friend is a friend. So
there you go.
So it's a pleasure. You know, we actually haven't had a conversation before, but I'm really excited to dive into this.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot in common. We're both Colorado natives. DJ Zenas he's a Dallas-based DJ, producer, songwriter, and recording artist. He's an all-around artist, if you will. But we both come from Colorado. We both know this human, Ashley. She's basically like a pseudo co-host of Turmeric and Tequila. I think she's been on like 5
Amazing.
or 6 shows.
She's like a perfect human being.
Seriously, she's everywhere. She's friend / life coach / a multitude of other things. But we grew up in similar space, and music, I don't think was in my journey probably as much as it was for you, but I actually dabbled in the music business a little bit after college. And
okay.
I mean, it was not a lot. I mean, long story short, I had an internship at House of Blues and then Outlook Music, a little boutique label out here that was, I think, a Bronco player owned it. But it was, the Denver scene was a little bit different back then. House of Blues has since closed, and I just kind of got out of it. But anyways, tell me about coming from Colorado, and tell me about just kind of how you grew up and how music supplemented your world as a young human.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, like you said, Denver native. So Denver, Colorado, like, I mean, I feel like growing up, first of all, my parents were like super kind of like all over the place. They kind of have they had a very eclectic sense of like taste of music. So I got exposed to a lot at a young age, which was awesome. I was kind of like all over the place. Like I grew up idolizing like, you know, Michael Jackson and Prince and stuff like that, you know. I love like R&B and like, you know, like to the core, but I kind of got exposed to a little bit of everything, you know, when I was younger. I got exposed to some like pop, some country, some rock, you know, just like had a good, my palette was very wide, you know, from a young age, which was awesome, you know. And so I initially like found, I grew up in Denver. I grew up in like Southeast Denver. I went to Thomas Jefferson High School.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I went to Eagle Crest.
TJ, shout out, Spartans.
There you go.
And then obviously eventually went to Colorado State University, where I met Ashley, obviously. But I would say from a young age, like I always had a liking towards music, but I wasn't really quite sure how I was going to get my in. I used to love dancing. Like if anyone knows me, knows I'm a groover. Like I love to boogie on the dance floor. So that was kind of like my first exposure to it. Like, you know, like I would just like love listening to music, and then just like whether it be like in the car or dancing in the mirror. Like, I mean, I couldn't stay still. So like, you know, I eventually got into like pop locking and stuff like that. It was a brief phase. It wasn't a very very great phase, but got into like pop locking and stuff like that, and it was a lot of fun. And then eventually I started writing poems. And so I started writing poems, I want to say probably I was around like 14 years old when I really started getting into poetry, and I was pretty good at it. I've always been a pretty strong writer, which is something that I've been like grateful for, you know. And so from there I was just like, okay, so I can't sing because like naturally, like I was never blessed with the vocal abilities to just like belt out amazingness. Like some people are just born with those vocal cords where literally everything they belt out just sounds so angelic, you know. My girlfriend and I were talking about it the other day. Do you know who Miguel is?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've actually seen him in concert at one of the festivals out here.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. Miguel is like, I think he's one of the purest voices of our age. Like, you know, like literally everything he belts out is amazing. Yeah. But I'm literally the complete opposite of that. And so like, you know, you like typically the only place you used to catch me singing was in the shower, you know? And so, but I put on full performances in the shower, believe me. So, so it translated from writing poetry to, you know, obviously writing rhymes. And so I would say that started around like 15 or 16 years old, where I was just like, okay, you know, I definitely have some rhythm. You know, I wasn't a lyrical genius to start with, you know, but, you know, I found my flow. And then my senior year of high school, a good friend of mine, he taught me how to make beats. So he taught me how to produce on a program called FL Studio, Fruity Loops, which I still use to this day.
When was this? Was this like 90s, like 2000-ish?
Oh, no. So my senior year of high school, that was 2006 to 2007.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, from 2006 to 2007, my senior year of high school, my good friend, he showed me how to make beats, and like that kind of like almost helped me rediscover like this intense passion for music that like I always like was lingering there, but like it hadn't quite like come to the forefront yet. And like after I learned how to make beats, I was just like, oh, it's on. Like, you know, like I still to this day remember the very first beat that I made. I will probably never play it for anybody, but to me it was amazing just being that it was like it was the first. It was like it was literally like, you know, my baby. And so from then on, obviously I went to college, you know, in Colorado at Colorado State University. Shout out Rams. And then I want to say this was my sophomore? No, it was my junior year in college, which was 2010. Okay. I got into DJing. So the reason why I got into DJing, so have you ever partied in Fort Collins?
You know, I think I have. Well, the reason I asked the timeline, because I was trying to think when YouTube and everything came out, because I feel like when all like the at-home type studio stuff, that didn't even come out until I was out of college. Yeah. So I graduated high school in 99. So I think I'm like 10 years ahead of you. And so there was none of that. So like, I think that was a major gameplay. But anyways, my friends were at CSU, I think 2002-ish, and I might've got up like once or twice. So maybe sort of, I guess.
The reason why I ask is because in Fort Collins, the scene was very lame. I will put it that way.
Oh, okay.
Like, not lame. It was a lot of fun, but the DJs were terrible. Like the DJs were they were awful. And so we used to be out at the clubs and at the bars, you know, we'd be having a good time, but the DJs just like, I was just like, man, I feel like, I just feel like, I was always that person that people came to. Like I always made those party playlists. Like I was the guy that like always was on top of the new music, you know, Ashley, all of them, they were like, yo, I'm having a party. I need you to they'd hand me their iPod, like, yo, I need you to make me a fire playlist for tonight. And I'm like, cool, I got you. You know, I was always that person that always stayed on top of the latest music, you know, just coming with the hits. And so whenever I showed up to a party, they always handed me the aux cord, plugged right in, getting to it, you know, It was a lot of fun. And so being that like I had this like, I guess, this love and this passion for being like, for soundtracking the night, you know, I was just like, a lot of these DJs aren't really that good, but I feel like I could do a better job. And so, you know, not that I was necessarily like, you know, cocky or anything like that, but I'm like,
when you know,
they're not setting the bar very high, you know? So I'm like, I feel like I could do a better job than this. And so I ended up buying a DJ controller, shout out to Newmark. And I taught myself how to DJ. And so in the basement of our house, like it was myself and 3 other roommates.
And you're down there doing
and
DJ
you could ask them like every day after class, I would come home and just get to practicing, you know, just just trying to teach myself how to like, juggle and, just how to fade and, all the little technicalities of what makes a DJ a good DJ. And from there, I had a lot of like, I knew a lot of people in college. And so the way I got my in was like, I would DJ for like a lot of the sorority and fraternity parties. And the first person who gave me a shot was Determined Nation. That was the name of the group. Shout out to Garrett and Perez. They were the first to put me on. They gave me my first shot at like, they threw a party and they wanted me to DJ. And like, from then on, it kind of just like, set the world on fire. They were like, yo, DJ Zenas is the man. But back then I used to go by DJ Exclusive. So that's another story.
Okay, we rebranded. I think that the real name is good. I think that's a well-played marketing situation.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I want to say this was maybe like 5 years ago. I rebranded, and just because like there were so many DJ exclusives, like, if you Google DJ Exclusive, you'd probably get like, millions of results, but you Google a DJ Zenas and I may be the only person that comes up, and so I Googled my name, Zenas, and I think there's only like 1,000 Zenases in the country, so I'm just like, bet, like,
that's awesome.
So a good friend of mine and I, like, we both have very unique names. His name is Rahman. Shout out to Rahman. And we both kind of like made the executive decision together. We were like, because he used to go by PC and, he was a rapper. Well, is a rapper, a really good one, by the way. And so we were just like, we were kind of like tag teaming it. Like, we like to call ourselves the new Fresh Prince and Jazz, DJ Jazzy Jeff, So okay. We made the executive decision to go by our government names, because we have very unique names. And so that was kind of like the story of that. But anyone who knows like the OG roots, they know me as DJ Exclusive in that.
Oh, okay. You heard it here. I think that's good. I just think anytime you can kind of like humanize the brand, as corporate as this all sounds, I just think it's so good and it comes from authentic space. And if you can be a rare name, like if you Google Kristen Olsen, there's like 20 million of us. So even people are like, can I find you on LinkedIn or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, oh wait, I'll just find you because there's 80 million of us. So if you have something unique, lean into it and then you don't have to, fully rebrand. So that's good. You did that, before things go super huge and super global, which they're headed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Totally. Well, I love this. I actually think I do remember Fort Collins not being the best party scene. And that's probably why my friends always came down to Denver. I was out of state, but when I was home, we never went up there. So that might've been the reason why. So I'm glad you had the ability to jump in there and get in the mix. But when you bought that turntable set, what is it actually called? Is it the table?
DJ controller.
There you go. I'm like,
it's essentially like the same thing. It's just, I'm not, like, obviously that's almost like blasphemy to say that like a controller is turntables in the DJ world. It's not, but a controller is a good place to start. Like if you're just like getting into it, it's a good place like to learn. And that's exactly what I did.
Well, and it's a chunk of money, isn't it? Like you got to be invested in it. You were committed to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say I paid like probably $1,200 for it, like just right out the gate. Yeah, so it was pretty expensive. Yeah, it was just
in college. Like, that's like 3 months rent.
I was a broke college student too, so I kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, my mom kind of helped me out. So shout out Mom Dukes. She helped a broke college student out at that time, because it was one of those things where like, my mom's kind of always supported like my passions. Like they've kind of like evolved a lot. I've always been very art influenced. Like I used to want to be an architect and stuff like that. And so I've always been like art driven. Like, I was pretty decent at drawing, when I was younger and stuff like that. And so she's always supported these things. Like, she knows that like, oh, he's just going to do what he does. And just like, I'm just here to support it. And so shout out to Mom Dukes for doing that. But yeah, that's how I got my start into it. I just bought it and I knew I was like, obviously I didn't want my mom to just like be disappointed in me and just think that her money was going to waste as well. Like, so I made sure to stay committed to it and it's been a great journey. We're here now. So, it worked out.
I love that. Well, I think your parents got to be your first fans, and if you're lucky enough to where they are in that space early on, it makes a world of difference, particularly when you need $1,200 in college, because that is a big deal.
Absolutely.
Were your parents musically inclined growing up? Besides being music fans, did they play instruments or anything or write poetry or music?
No, absolutely
No?
not.
Okay.
I that definitely skipped their generation. I don't know if my grandparents. I didn't get to know either of my grandparents super very well, so I don't know if it skipped a generation or what. But my parents were not musically inclined.
Okay, mine definitely. When you were saying you couldn't sing, I definitely can't sing. I can barely listen to my podcast back because I'm like, oh, the voice. Like, I don't know if you get used to it coming back like over time, but slowly but surely, I have faith and I care about what I'm saying and maybe not always how it sounds, but we're out here for at least the words. But
Absolutely.
I think it's really cool. I wish I was exposed to like writing music when I was younger or like playing piano. All of my friends always had like piano lessons and I never had that. And I think they hated it and I actually like kind of wanted them, but we all played
Yeah.
sports and it was, yeah, music. I was just, a fan. I wasn't really like inclined to do it. But as you were growing up, was music like a good outlet for you? Like, did you find yourself, was it like a space of freedom or a coping mechanism or just something that made you feel good?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, I've always been not musically. I've always been like artistically inclined. Like, I've always been, like I said, I used to draw like heavy and stuff like that. And then eventually that translated to music. So, it's funny because like back in middle school, we used to have like, like music and stuff like that we'd like, but I never really got into it. Like when we would play the piano and stuff like that, I was never really like interested in playing instruments, which I regret so much now because I wish I knew how to play an instrument well. But it was definitely like such a huge outlet for me. Like I always wanted to like I'm the type of person, I'm very obsessed with growth. And even that was that settled in at a very early age. Like I always wanted to like, I was always learning and I was like always trying new things and just stretching my boundaries. And so that translated to music because I eventually grew out of drawing. I was pretty good at it, but I just like didn't have a passion for it. And so that eventually, like I said, that translated to music, writing music and stuff like that. And so I just found it as like, even if I didn't have like the greatest experiences to share like through music, it was just cool to just like write rhymes about like, I don't know, whatever. Was it like, like your 8th grade teacher or something like that, whatever it was back then. Like, it was just fun to just write about what was going on in your life at that moment, and so it was such a huge outlet and so much fun to like just kind of like exercise. And that's really the biggest thing. Like, anyone will say that to become great at something, it's just about repetition. And so like, just constantly trying to do it every day, and not even trying, just doing it like every day, like that's really how you get better. They say, 10,000 hours, and you become a master. I still don't think I'm anywhere near a master. And I'm pretty sure I probably put in 10,000 hours or so, but I'm getting there. We're getting somewhere.
Things are changing so fast. I mean, you see what I love about the music space right now is with YouTube and social media and whatnot, you've seen entire record labels wipe out like A&R and all this because the old school game is no longer there, which I mean, I wasn't a hater of it, but there's so few people controlling so many of the chips. Now there's, social media and the internet has diversified and opened up opportunity for anyone. It didn't have to be about who you knew or payola or, paying DJs to get on the radio. Like it just opened up the field for talent and creativity to be exposed. And it really wasn't about making money, which we're all here for that. But as you were saying, as like an outlet for our young humans in particular to create and to be in the mix and connect. Clearly there's, a major downside to some of the social media situations. But for the most part, I love what it's provided for creatives. And you see some of these artists getting signed off like TikTok and YouTube. Have these things really supplemented your journey thus far?
Yeah. So obviously social media has been, like a godsend for like so many people, like so many, especially in our industry and in the entertainment industry, just overall, just opening up so many doors and opportunities and just even just the ability to network now, networking just looks so much different and just being able to, I don't know if you're on Clubhouse, but like I got super big into Clubhouse when like at first, like I would say like I was in a really huge Clubhouse phase for like 2 to 3 months where I was just like just connecting with just everyone on there. And just, it was so awesome to just meet all these creatives and all these A&Rs and all these people in the industry just all over the place. Because especially during COVID, it's just like, well, how do we network now? And so, thank you for social media and, the opportunity to do that. And so it's definitely helped supplement my career in a lot of ways, just because I have been able to network and communicate with different people, and just opening a lot of doors, and obviously being able to share my vision with my audience. Now the only thing is, I'm not gonna lie to you, I hate social media personally. Like, I don't know if I've said that before, but you're hearing it here first. Like, I personally do not like social media at all. I just think it's very I think it's a very useful tool, and
it's a lot.
But it is a lot, and like my biggest gripe with it is, like, in today's society, is just that, like, in order to be a successful musician, you have to be a social media influencer, more so than an artist. And to me, that's kind of like counterintuitive, but like, I also get it though. Like, you also being that, like, A&Rs are no longer really a thing, and being that artist development isn't really a thing anymore. That's a thing of the past. It's just like, people want to hop on something while it's hot, like they don't want to have to worry about developing you and doing all this stuff, so they obviously, we see that he's doing well on his own, we can just, help him elevate to new levels. And so I definitely get, it's a double-edged sword, I definitely get both ends of the spectrum, but I'm not gonna lie, I do not like social media. I'm kind of one of those people, I just like to I'm in it for the art. Like, I love music. Like, music truly is my life. Like, I just love making good music and then just putting it out and sharing it with the world. And if people if they like it, awesome. If not, that's cool too. Like, it's, music is so subjective, and so, like, I just want to be able to put out music and just, hopefully have a great following, a great audience to share that with. But I'm not super bought into the idea of celebrity, which is why I know you're probably going to ask me about it, but that's the whole, brushstroke sunglasses thing.
Okay.
That's good.
You got to check out his social media, since he just totally upsold it right there. But no, it's really good. But you're good at the branding because you have consistency. To me, I'm a branding professional. So when I see consistencies that are authentic, again, cliche, that's the piece. You don't need this big branding professional come in and put things together. Like, when it's already there and you can see it and it's natural, and that is the brand, versus celebrity. I think it's really, really cool because it's authentic. It's telling a story of who you are. So if you look at his social media, he's wearing sunglasses, or his eyes are blacked out, I guess, in every picture. And that's to keep some of your anonymity.
Yeah, exactly. It's that, and like, like I said, I'm not super bought into this whole idea of celebrity and just like the obsession with just like, celebrities just owe so much to the world. Cause it's like, at the end of the day, they're still people. Like, it's just like, yo, like, we're all out here trying to live, and I just want to live my best life. And like, I love being away from social media, and not like, I love just taking breaks from social media and just like not even having to look at my phone and worry about that stuff. The only thing I'm checking my phone about nowadays is just investing. Like, I'm constantly checking stocks and crypto and all this stuff. That's the only thing I'm constantly checking my phone about, but
that's a podcast in itself right there.
Yeah, we can have another separate conversation about that as well. But
I'm late to the game on all that, but I'm with you. I just think social media is, I really try and change my own narrative around it, because I get super burned out, and I see our young humans, how they're like seeing these impossible pictures that are all photoshopped, and I'm like, this isn't real. And that's literally why I started the podcast. I'm like, we have to start telling the truth on some stuff. Like, I'm in marketing branding, where I'm not really a story creator like a lot of my peers are, which is fine. But we have to start like bringing light to what's really going on, because there's good things happening.
You're awesome at what you do though, so please keep doing it. Like,
thank you. I think there's just got to be heart space at the end of the day, just like you say. Like, you got to love what you're doing, number one, and if if it feels out of alignment in any capacity, it's not going to be your 100%. So
absolutely.
That was kind of my shift on that. But I think the writing, as you said, is really cool. It's neat to hear that you had all this experience as an artist, because I know like on your website you say, I'm a DJ, but I'm so much more than that. And I think that's what's so critical for successful creatives, is that you learn how to wear all the hats, be the businessman, be the artist, and know how to invest in cryptocurrency.
Absolutely.
Apparently. But know how to diversify some of these things. But the investment's no joke, because if I've seen this as a creative, when I monetize my love, it gets really brutal. I've done that with lacrosse when I had a lacrosse company, and CrossFit kind of got, we were getting paid a little bit, nothing that you could live off of. But the second it became money, it switched the game on me. So I think when you have financial support outside of your creative space, I think that's really critical.
Absolutely. Like, it is. because you need to be successful in any industry, not just the entertainment industry, but in any industry, it takes money to make money by all means, like, and so just being able to invest more into yourself, whether that be time, whether that just being ads, whatever it is, you obviously want to create as many sources of income as you can for yourself, so that you have the freedom to do what it is that you love, and to honestly live in a world of doing what you love and making a living off of that. What better world is there? Like, who doesn't want that? Whoever doesn't embrace the idea of financial freedom is a liar, because if you could get paid to do what you love, like, it's just, what better world is that? And just not have to worry about, making ends meet, not have to worry about, like, how I'm going to pay this bill, how I'm going to pay rent, like, all that stuff. Like, that's just like, that's the unfortunate piece of, like, as a creative, like, a lot of creatives, especially like a lot of creatives that I know, they're so creative that, like, that's really the only lane that they know. So when it comes to the business side of things, they're just, like, so disconnected. They're like, yo, I don't even care about that. Like, and, like, it's just so unfortunate, because it's just like, there's so many talented people out there, and so, but that's why, in this culture that now we do live in, the DIY culture, where you're seeing, independence being more embraced than ever now, like, where you're seeing independent artists thriving and stuff like that. That is the great side of all this, like the whole social media and, investing, whatever it is that you're doing, however you're making ends meet, and, like, just contributing, funding your passion, like, that's where we're at. And it's so awesome now to see independent artists thriving, whereas, being independent back in the 90s, even the early 2000s and beyond, obviously, you never would have made it. Like, before the internet, before social media, you never would have made it independent, unless you just were a millionaire, and then you could all of a sudden just go to a radio station and be like, here's $50,000, put my song in a rotation, and just, like,
It's crazy. But, that's why I initially got out of it, because I actually went to New York. My friend and I, we went and saw Whitney Houston live.
Wow.
Yeah. I had for some reason in college, I got to see TLC before Lisa passed away. I saw Whitney. For some reason, and Run DMC before Jam Master Jay was killed. Like, they came and performed at our school. Like, for some reason, I just got to see a lot of artists that, like, their time was really short. Anyways, as I was learning the industry back then, I'm like, and I was interning, I'm like, this is awful. The way the humans, like, you're hot and then you're not. And it's like, just like you're saying, you couldn't break in. Even if you had a bunch of money, the strategic partnerships were so strong. It was like the mafia. You couldn't even get in. In fact, I would trust the mafia more, because they would just use humans like commodities. And I saw this at a very, like, elementary internship level. So I wasn't even seeing the big acts, but the business side was so repelling to me. I kind of just got out of all of it. So I'm just so glad to see how much social media has changed the game and shaken up some of these, like, partnerships that were getting pretty shady as it was, and opening up the gates a little bit.
Yeah. Like, you see gatekeeping, not such like obviously there are still gatekeepers,
always,
regardless of where you go, always. But you see it not being such a huge thing anymore. Like, you do see that now that lane, which is pretty immense now, for people to, slip through those cracks, being able to bypass that, whereas that didn't used to be a thing. And I agree with you. Like, I almost think, like, and this is my personal take, I don't know about other creatives, but, like, that's the biggest turnoff about the music industry, is that, like, when you genuinely just, like, love the art and just love to just make music and just do whatever it is, the business side of things, it's almost so, like, it's almost just so in like, how can I put it? It's almost intimidating, like, it's just like, man, like, I don't care about this or that. Like, I just want to be able to make good music. And I think that's where a lot of creatives fall, that's where the lane that they fall into, but also to be successful in this industry, in any industry, you have to be, you have to wear all the hats, just like you said earlier, you have to be a great musician. You have to be able to do this, but you also have to be good on the business side. And if you don't, you need a team so that you have that person who does do that for you, and so, but I'm not gonna lie,
I don't want to cut it, but I still think that's important, because even when you hire a team, you got to know enough to hire the right people. You see all these major acts again, like in the 90s, they got so burned. So even if you want to get people that are better than you,
TLC.
around you, like, that's great, but there's still a lot you need to know. So I think being well-rounded in life is such a critical life skill, like, as you said, in any capacity.
Absolutely.
We
can talk about this all day though.
I know, seriously, the business fascinates me. But what I really love, I started doing my open mic sessions. Really, I mean, right around the time of like when all the social justice was happening in 2020, and we opened up the mic to which diversity and equality was really why I started Turmeric and Tequila, because again, we just had to shift the narrative, not just around race, but sexual orientation and socioeconomic status, and basically everything that was being polished in real world, we had to just disrupt. So, I loved doing the open mics and I want to continue those, but I wanted to start these creative conversations because I really believe the arts are the answer. Cliches all the days, but it's an outlet. I think every human, even if they don't consider themselves are a creative, they are creative in some capacity. It could be in cooking, it could be in fashion and art, it could be in music. But I think it's a massive outlet. Has it provided a bridge for you at points in your life as far as social justice is concerned?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I think like I'm the type of person I just speak my mind and I do so freely. Like, I just love obviously I love having that conversation because it's like, for instance, like some people will just discover my music and they're like, I voted, and they're like, well, I know what that song's about. And it's just like, it's a conversation starter. And I'm like, exactly, like, let's have that conversation, And so I think, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think it is so important to have those conversations, and what better way to do that than through music, what I love to do, and so that's why I just love that it is able to bridge those gaps for me, and just being able to collaborate with the Recording Academy and Music Cares, when I did with my song Rona, they, essentially sponsored my song, getting to collaborate with the Recording Academy and Music Cares and stuff like that. And so just speaking on like what it is that I'm truly passionate about and doing that through music, which is obviously like another passion of mine, like it's just a double whammy, And so I love being able to express how I feel about a situation, and regardless if you agree with me or not, let's have that conversation, and that's the way to start it. And it may rub some people the wrong way, that's okay, but this is just genuinely how I feel, and like, let's have that conversation though.
I mean, there's, as you said before, the world's so big, there's enough to go around. I think we often, everybody, not just artists, have to shift the mindset to abundance and not, a lack or a scarcity mindset. Like, I'm going to, take all of their followers or this and that, or, everybody's got a podcast. Well, not really. But even if they do, great. I tell everyone to start one because there's billions of humans. So if there's 1 million podcasts, there's billions of people. That's plenty of downloads for everybody. And when you can be your authentic self, like, you're going to find your tribe or your crew or the people that want to listen to you. I really appreciate that you utilize your platform to be very forward in what you're talking about, what's in your heart space. I just saw your song Prove Out, and you lead off with a Kobe Bryant quote. I don't know if that's the latest track or not, but it seems most of your art is mission driven, or it's saying something. It's not just about a creative piece. It sounds like there's a mission behind most of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like my whole life's mission is really like, don't get me wrong, I love music, and obviously I want to do so many things with music, but like I'm a very giving person, and like philanthropy is obviously like that's what really drives me. Like, I just want to be able to, like, if I could say like I want to make a lot of money, I just want to make a lot of money just so that I can give it away. I just want to be able to like help a lot of people. Like, that's all I care about. Like,
I'm so
the money and like all that stuff, like that's all just like that's all stuff that I just really don't care about. I love just being able to make music, and being able to express what it is that I love. But absolutely, like, everything that I do is intentional. I believe in being very intentional about everything that you do. And so typically all of my music is like, most of it has a purpose. Like, it's about, I preach positivity, like, I'm a very positive person. Most people who know me on a personal level know that like Zenas is a very positive person, and like, I'm always in high spirits, and obviously we all have our good days, we have our bad days, but like at the end of the day, the mission is always going to be the same. It's just live your best life. Like, let's help one another, and let's, if hopefully, make a lot of money just so that I can give it away so I can help even more people. Like, what better world could I live in? And so absolutely. Yeah, you hit it right on the head.
I love that. I'm so with you. I try and watch Ellen whenever I can. It's like 3:00 today, so I always miss it. But I absolutely love seeing her not just give away money, and there's sponsorships in it, and it's, there's corporate there, but that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's not just like 25, 50 grand what she does, but she'll like buy houses or pay off mortgages. Or my goal is to make enough money to where I can get to the people that are like this close to making a shift in their life and helping them. Because when you're like one play away or one paycheck, or you're just this close to getting there. And I don't know why, but it's always been on my mind with that. But like being like with your mom, like if you could find 100 kids that wanted to be DJs and just start, and you could buy them their $1,200 table that then facilitates their entire career for the rest of their life's trajectory. Like those moments, that's everything.
Absolutely.
And jump back in. Well, maybe you'll have to start a charity that's like kids in music, and then you can start giving all your stuff away.
Yeah, I would love to do so. I actually had someone who reached out. It was right before I moved from Colorado to Texas, so I wasn't able to help. Like I really wasn't able to get anything started, but they reached out wanting to. They were essentially doing the same thing where they were helping take at-risk youth. And just taking them off the streets and like, teaching them different passions like music and stuff like that, just so that like, A, you can keep them off the streets, and B, hopefully compel them enough, or like, just essentially plant the seed that may eventually grow into something, so much more, and so I never really got to, get my hands into it because that was literally right before I moved. And so that was the unfortunate piece about it. And since I moved out here to Texas, COVID hit like, 3 months after I moved here. And so haven't really been able to move around like that, but I would love to start a charity. And, I'm all about charity personally. Like, I know a lot of people get all up in arms about, billionaires and, the top 1% who don't pay taxes because they are donating money. But me personally, like, I'd rather my money go to charity than to the government, because I feel like depending on what charity you're donating to, I feel like it's going to a better cause. You got
to do your homework on your nonprofits. Yes. But I'm completely with you. The money's going to go somewhere. So absolutely, you have the choice in it. Well, let's definitely circle back at some point about the charity out here, because I think when I was growing up, music and creativity and or art or cooking was an outlet where you could, just maintain your happiness or maintain mental health. Now I literally think these creative avenues are saving lives. You see what our kiddos are facing. Absolutely. And it's not just conversation about depression, it's a conversation about youth suicide. And we're on just such another level that the need for these outlets and connection and fostering other angles of their personalities outside of like math and algebra in school, like some real life stuff, is really, really critical. And I think this creative outlet really can save lives if it's, as you said, like early on, and it's exposed to our young humans and it's allowed to grow and foster.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So. I think in order to change the future, we have to start with the youth. And that's something that I've always genuinely believed in. And so, had I not had music in my life, I don't know where my life would like end up right now. I could be potentially like in some corporate gig. I could be, I don't know where, honestly, I don't know what my life would be like without music right now. I'd be a completely different person. Like music has just shaped so much of my life, so just so many experiences, like even in education and everything like that, just music has always been that guardian angel of mine that's always like somehow helped guide my life. And, it's gotten me through so much and, helped me achieve so much. And so why not be able to like pass that on to so many others, like, who are in need, because just like you said, like, there's some people who are on the brink of, snapping. There's some people who are on the brink of just like, you never know where anyone's at with life, but like that one little event or that one little opportunity could completely do a 180 on somebody's life. And you would never know, like, because, everyone's fighting their own battles that no one knows about, and so just being able to present those like different opportunities and stuff like that to people who, may need it more than they even know and more than you'll ever know, and so I think that's absolutely something that needs to be implemented more. And I love the artists out there, and not just the artists, but the creatives and the influencers and the celebrities who are out there, actually doing it. I applaud them so much. And like, I hope that they continue to do so, because eventually, like, God willing, I do reach a certain level, I want to be able to, provide that same platform for so many others, as I'm sure you will be too. Like, you'll be ready to set up shop and do whatever it is that is necessary.
We're coming in, we're kicking down walls, whether they want us there or not. But hopefully it's not. It's all positive things. But what really makes me excited is, on one side, getting to the youth and music is because I can remember putting on my headphones and just needing to zone out, or long car trips, and we were doing whatever. And I had 3 younger brothers, which is the most, and just being able to like listen to someone that may or maybe didn't look like me, or was from where I was from, or you even spoke the same language, but like there's something I could connect to. So I think about the young humans that put on music, and maybe they're in a tumultuous home situation or whatever, and somehow their generational narrative will be shifted because of the music they listen to or the things they're exposed to. And
Absolutely.
It's almost like that can break the cycle of everything they're growing up around. And that's really, without therapy and all this stuff that, we're just now starting to talk about, that's hard. I actually think music can jump in there and have them question a better way and be like, oh, well, this isn't necessarily normal. Like, there are other ways. This can broaden the horizons.
Absolutely. So that's what music does. Music it speaks to the soul in so many different ways, and it opens up so many avenues, and absolutely.
It's pretty crazy. Do you think you have a lot of young listeners? Like, are you intentional about getting to young people? It sounds like you just want to get out to good people, but are you intentional with the youth at all?
I wouldn't say I intentionally like make music for the youth, or like try to reach out to the youth. Like, I try to like obviously make my music as positive, like, and send out a message. I don't know if it necessarily resonates with the youth so much. Like, I guess I try to be as intentional with, like, because I am a DJ, like, I feel like I know what a hit is, so I know what it takes to make a song sound really good, but that's why I try to like combine both worlds, where like I'm bringing a positive and meaningful message, but like, I guess expressing it in a way that is very digestible to a lot of people. And I hope that's digestible, to the youth. Like, for instance, I don't know if you heard my song, I Like the Stock, but I think it's a very, it's a very lighthearted like song, but at the same time, I'm talking about stocks and investing, and like, it's got a bop to it. So I think like, I personally think kids would love it, but also, like, let's say they do catch on to that song and they're like, I like the stock, and they just start singing it. It's just like, you're actually, hopefully that's exposing them to a world where they're like, what is a stock? Like, maybe, hopefully it does, influence them to dig a little bit more, because, I think those are things that like those are the conversations that need to be had earlier, just Absolutely. Financial literacy, and stuff like that. Like, that's what I love to talk about, and hopefully I hope that message resonates with the youth. And I guess you could say I'm not super intentional about the youth, but like, I absolutely want to reel them in if possible, whether that be through like videos and stuff like that. I have a whole vision. It's just, it's coming together one day at a time.
Well, I think that's good, because the world's changing so fast. I always laugh and people are like, yeah, I have a 10-year plan. And I'm like, okay, well, let me know how it is in 10 minutes, because everything's changing so fast. And even I love seeing how corporate companies now, because the dollar really does make the world go round. So I like to see when these big dogs start paying attention to social or racial issues or equal pay or whatever. It's becoming like cool. And I think if you just like the kiddos, I think actually you're doing it perfectly, because if you were like, this is for the kids would be like, oh, hell no, this isn't cool. Like, they're not going to be told to be like, this is what it's got to be like, oh, this is an adult song. Like, okay, I'm going to listen to it now. Like, I think the way you're playing it is perfect. And they're kind of like leveling up to like adult conversation versus like, this is a PSA for the kids. Like, da-da-da. They'd be like, pass. But like you said, I think
I'm an adult. You know how kids are too. They're like, I'm an adult. Like,
exactly. So they'd be like, oh, cool. Like, is this an after school special? I'm not watching this. But I do love that you're talking about stocks and stuff, because that's like the turmeric and tequila. I don't think a lot of people think you can have one thing be another, like be an athlete and be a podcaster, or be like, we're so used to these boxed in ideas talking about I'm a DJ and I'm an investor, and maybe I'm a professional dog walker or whatever. Like, just seeing these totally random things fit together, because that's really what we are as people in general.
Absolutely. And anyone who knows me knows I hate boxes. Like, I hate when there's no bigger like pet peeve of mine than when someone tries to put me in a box. Like, I'm just like, no, I will do everything to break every one of those dolls, every one of those walls down in that box. I'm like, no.
Yeah. That's what I say on Turmeric Tequila. I'm like, reality is nothing more than prescribed meaning, like old school philosophy. Because it really is. Absolutely. It's just like we just put these labels on things so we can understand the world around us, which makes sense. But now in 2021, we need to like evolve from some of these like narratives that are hundreds of years old, maybe even longer. That it's just not that way anymore. So we don't need to keep branding it that way, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, so tell us now what you've got going on. I mean, are you where Dallas? I almost said Austin. Is the Dallas music scene, is it pretty like big and thriving? I literally know nothing about Dallas.
Yeah, so the Dallas music scene is, I will say it's thriving more than the Denver scene.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest reasons why I actually like left Denver. Like I love Denver. It'll always be near and dear to my heart. Obviously that's where I was born and raised, but I felt like I hit my ceiling so long ago, like in Denver, and so like, that's why I felt like I needed to branch out. And like, I felt like I hit that plateau and I was just like, I got to break through somewhere. And so I actually wanted to move out to California, but just the cost of living out there is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, so it just makes absolutely no sense unless you're just very wealthy
and hate money,
which I am not, but working on it. And so honestly, the reason why I ended up coming out to Dallas was because I connected with a producer out here. His name's Jon-John Robinson. He produced for the TL season, like Gladys Knights, and worked with like a lot of different artists. And so he's actually the one who kind of like reeled me out here. And so the Dallas scene is very live. It's not quite as thriving as the Austin scene. I think the Austin scene is huge, just as far as like what they do for like the locals and stuff like that. And obviously all the festivals and just the opportunities, but Austin's also like only 3 hours away. So like, if I do need to go to Austin and stuff like that, I'm like, I can just, hop in the whip and just, make a cruise on over there, and just establish relationships, with different, whether that be podcasts or different, people in the industry and stuff like that. That's obviously the way to connect nowadays. And so I do think the scene is awesome here in Dallas, but it's not quite where Austin is, but being that Austin is like, not far from home,
you can make it work.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I think
Austin's getting expensive too, by the way.
Well, that's what I was getting. Austin, Seattle, and Boulder all kind of remind me of each other. And it's, people may or may not love that, but I love all three places. But it's getting super trendy and super, the big businesses are moving out there. So a lot of people are moving in to work with those business. I mean, it's just kind of a thing. So I think you played it right, being just out of it enough. And if you can kind of tackle Dallas as well, I actually think going somewhere where it's not as big and thriving yet, so you can kind of get your own brains and also maybe like help that scene thrive a little. You might be doing them a favor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I told this to Elliot. I was like, I'm leaning, this is really random, but my creative piece is like coming up, my creative heart, and I sourced all these really random jean jackets. So I'm gonna do like cause jackets, and I like customized them all. But my goal at some point is to do. I haven't even released any of them yet, but I'll send you a picture of them. You can give me real feedback. Please do. I want to do, the first one I'm doing are Black Lives Matter. So I got a patch, and we're going to have a portion go back to the sale, to the cause, obviously. Hopefully at some point, if I can get my margins dialed in enough, it'd just be 100% profits go to that, and just do like kind of cause fashion. I don't even know if that's a thing, but this is where the heart is. Awesome. So I want to do a live fashion show, and I told Elliot, and by the way, I connected you guys without telling either one of you that. So I'm like, I'm just going to put it out there. So thank you for rolling with that. But I want to have the three of us in some point, this is my long-term vision, doing some sort of event with fashion, music, production, and philanthropy. So I'm just putting that out to the universe.
You can sign me up already, right? To
okay,
now.
Cool.
Not tomorrow, to now. You can sign me up for it. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I have it. It's really random, but I have a good vibe on it. And I love, like I said, my creatives are starting to circle in. And I think we have a lot of power, whatever that creative space is, to bring unity and community. And again, I don't know the full plan here, but it's in there and it's stirring. So you're definitely on the short list if the heart's there.
But you're having a conversation and you have the idea, it's all about execution. So, like, absolutely. And if there's any way I could help, I would be more than willing to do so, because I'm all about the cause.
I'll lean in. Well, I'll say this now. I'm going to ping you about this music charity and youth and music and facilitating that, because that just might be the first base layer that we kind of tackle, because the charity and the philanthropy piece will be first. So that might be a conversation right there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, so tell me more about, what do you have going on right now? What's coming out?
So I am working on so much new music. Like my girlfriend says, like, I have this whole like secret library of like just awesomeness that no one knows about. And I am very guilty of that. Like I'm a very like, it's because I'm a perfectionist too. So I'm just like, like, yeah, this is good, but like it could be amazing. Like, I mean, mind blowing. So I'm very guilty of like holding on to things a little too long. I'll admit that's one of my downsides, but I have so much that I'm working on right now. I actually, after this interview, I'm going to be hopping on a creative meeting with this engineer out in New York. His name's Nakor. He's great. We actually recently just got connected, but I mean, he has some pretty big credits. He was the assistant engineer for Trey Songz's Trigger album and stuff like that. And so he's got some pretty huge credits, and he's amazing at what he does. And so I'm super excited to link up with him. And so that's been one of the biggest things that, like, like I said, I am a very critical person of myself, and I'm so obsessed with growth. And I'm like, okay, I've done a lot of awesome things. I released 10 songs last year, which was great, and like, did a lot and, made a lot of connections. But now I'm just like, okay, I also want to continue to elevate now. And so like, if there's anyone who can help me elevate my sound, I think it's him. And we had a really good conversation the other day. And so I'm really excited to see. So I got a lot of stuff that's in the works, but like I said, I'm a perfectionist. So like the mixing and mastering is a step that I hate to overlook. And that's where I feel like a lot of locals fail, is because, they like to cut corners and stuff like that. And me being the perfectionist that I am, I'm like, no, like we have to get this right. And so there's a lot of new music that's coming up. I'm thinking eventually I'm going to put out an EP or album. Everyone's been asking me like, so when are you gonna, like, you're dropping singles, but when are you gonna drop an album, like a project? And I'm like, okay, I am starting to shift into like album mode, where I'm just like, I just am working on a record, and I'm like, this could easily be cut for like an album. And so I'm like, so I'm starting to, we'll see.
Okay,
I'm not, because we're also in the instant gratification. Like we're also in a society that's obsessed with instant gratification. So things are so here and there, the next. And so that's the reason why I put out singles, is because, we that's the society that we live in right now. Things are just digested so fast. So it's just like, that's the one thing about, like, if I do want to put out an album, I just want to make sure that there's like a lot of intention that goes into it, just as far as like marketing and stuff like that. It's just to make sure that it is able to breathe the way that it needs to, like, and gets the attention that it deserves, just because things often get just blown over, especially in our society, where just things are just, there is an overabundance of music. Everyone does music nowadays, and so you guys can at least expect 2 new songs in the next 3 months. I can say that from that much. I'm not going to say exactly what those songs are. Like I said, I'm just really excited for those to come out. I think you guys are going to love them. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But you can find me anywhere at officially Zenas. Obviously, officially, and then Zenas, Zenas. If you don't know how to spell officially, let me spell it for you. OFFICIALLY, officially Zenas. You can find me anywhere. And then you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, basically anywhere where you can find music. You can find me under DJ Zenas, Zenas. Again, that is my government name. Shout out to my parents for giving me that awesome name, which I embraced out. And
one other one on Google. But that's amazing. Well, I'm super excited about all the connections that are happening. This guy out of New York sounds like a major power play. So good things are coming in. The energy is amazing. I think we might need the sunglasses, because you're a bright light, man. You're out here. And as cliche as that sounds, I'm serious. I just think the energy and the vibe and the mindset, it's all cliches, but it is so true. So I think things, in addition to the talent, the heart space is going to lead it, and good things are coming in. So I can't wait to see what happens next. And I will absolutely ping you for whatever this fashion situation comes together out here. And if there's anything I can do on the flip side, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise, I mean, I was going to say, like, the sentiments are all like very mutual. Like I love exactly what you're doing. You bring so much greatness into this world, and obviously, like, just being a friend of a friend, like I like to, kick back and, you know, just see how things are going. And I love what you're doing. And obviously, like, Ashley is a great person, and anyone that she highly recommends, I was just like, oh, I got to get with Kristen then. She's awesome, you know? So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing amazing things, and we're absolutely going to have to connect and do something. You know, I don't know what exactly that all looks like, but we'll figure it out. And like I said, it's all about the cause. We do it for the cause.
I love it. And I really, those words land on my heart. I really, really, really appreciate it. We'll have to get you guys out here, and Ashley, at minimum, we'll have some tequila, but hopefully we'll plan some philanthropic musical fashion adventures in some capacity. And,
absolutely.
Get some
Side note, what's your favorite tequila?
Here's my branding heart. I have some good ones that I love, but it's all like these billion-dollar companies like Casamigos. And so I really try and support the smaller brands that don't have the marketing budget of these bigger guys. But I don't even go with usually anything that's Blanco and 100% agave are kind of my easy go-tos.
Blue agave.
I just try and get the smaller brands.
Okay.
There's
Is there anyone that you would recommend?
This isn't that small of a brand, but Luna Azul is not even expensive, but that's what I serve at like parties and stuff. It's I think it'd be considered cheaper tequila, but I actually think it's pretty good. 21 Seeds is a really cool story. It's woman owned, 2 sisters and 1 friend. Wow. I think the friend's a person of color, and they put it together. Okay. They're intentional about non-fermented beverages and this like making tequila like a daily drink. Yeah.
You said 21 Seeds?
21 Seeds, because it was 2 friends and 2 sisters and 1 friend. So
okay.
They have a cool story. Yeah, they're getting pretty big too.
Check that out.
Check them out.
I love tequila. Tequila is near and dear to my heart, so I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What's your go-to?
Oh, my go-to. I mean, obviously, I like a lot of like the big guys, the billion-dollar companies as well. Like I love 1942. Like 1942 is just like so smooth. But what have I been sipping on? Okay. Yeah. No, it's not Julio. I would say my go-to is honestly probably like Patron. You know, like I just think it's not too expensive. You know, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's just like. That's probably my go-to, but I know there's a lot better tequilas out there. Like now, people don't get to judge me. Whoever's watching this, don't start judging me like Patron. Like, you know, it's just a go-to. You know, do I think it's the best tequila? Absolutely not. You know, it's just my go-to.
Every bar has it too, so you can compare like. Count on if that is your one, like you're consistent. It's everywhere. It's kind of hard unless it's a tequila bar to get anything outside of like 3 available tequilas, and it's usually Don Julio, Casamigos, and Patron. So, or the Well, which you don't ever want to do that.
Oh, never Wells.
Those are bad decisions.
Never the Well. Never the Well.
I love it. Well, we'll definitely do tequila soon. I really appreciate the time and energy. Let's keep in touch and keep crushing. And if big projects come out or breaking, like please let me know so I can promote on my end.
Absolutely. And likewise, let's make it happen.
Let's do it. All right. I appreciate you. Let's chat soon.
Appreciate you. You take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.